Today we're going to be making tallow. I have beef fat from a cow that my family and I bought from our local rancher. So we're going to be processing the tallow, the beef fat, whatever you call it, processing it to use for cooking mainly, but you can also use this for skincare products. I may try that. I'm not sure because I do use tallow in my face moisturizer. But we're going to get this tallow into smaller pieces by using my KitchenAid attachment first to grind it up into small pieces, kind of like grind versus cutting it. I don't feel like cutting it, and we're going to slow cook it the wet method. So we're going to put water and salt in it to pull the purities, to purify it, to pull the impurities out of it, and then we're going to keep processing it until it gets basically as pure as I can get it. So come on, let's start processing some tallow. Before I start grinding the tallow, I am going to add a bowl of water to the crock pot, the slow cooker, and salt. That's probably a little too much water. Yeah, that's probably a little bit too much water. But you want to add about a cup and a half of water. That way when it solidifies, I'll show you. But water and salt, which helps pull out the impurities. So once I grind the tallow, I could put it right in here. I would like to keep it in order. I could have just showed you the crock pot part, but I'm not going to do that first. I'm going to grind here and just drop in here. So that's why I'll show this part, adding the water and salt. Let's start grinding. Okay, so I'm slicing the tallow into smaller pieces. Not small as it needs to be to slow cook, but just smaller pieces that I can put into the grinder. When you are cutting any animal fat, tallow, lard, you need a very sharp knife. So if you don't have a sharp knife, you might want to sharpen it because it is going to be extra hard to cut through it with a dull knife. But yeah, I'm just cutting smaller pieces so that I can put it in the grinder. You see the hard, you gotta get that washed. But this is a harder piece. But, and I'm gonna have to sharpen my knife after because cutting it will dull it out, at least when I did for the lard. And don't worry about if you see like meat and stuff, that's gonna be strained off. Yeah, so we got smaller pieces we're gonna grind. So we'll turn the KitchenAid. Let's see. Oh, my bad. This is 4 on speed 4. This KitchenAid attachment I got from Amazon. Some people say to process, lard and things while it's frozen because it's easier. And it is easier to cut. You do not need this attachment. You can literally just cut this up in smaller pieces. And cutting it up in smaller pieces allows it to cook evenly. Hold on. Okay. What is happening? Oh no. Y'all, look what happened. The tallow broke my attachment. Oh my God. It fried my... Wow. I wonder why that happened. That's what I was looking. I'm like, wait, is that metal in the middle? But it really... What the heck? Oh my gosh. I guess we're going to be cutting this because, God, I don't want to cut this stuff. I'm not going to. I have another attachment, like another piece of metal. But I do not want to break another one. I don't know why that did that. That is so strange. I use this all the time, and I'm sure it's not because I use it all the time. This is, I think it's the tallow, to be honest with you. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. But if you have this attachment, I wouldn't say you can't use it. Maybe you can, but it literally bent the metal up. Yeah, maybe it wasn't shredding fast enough and I was pushing too hard on it, which then caused it to bend, maybe. But we are not going to use this. We're going to pivot, which I'm about to be so annoyed. But this is the better way. The smaller pieces, I got to throw this in the garbage. Getting it as small as possible so that it can cook, faster and just evenly works. Or maybe this little piece. I don't know what this is. I think this is like the tendon. Maybe that tore up my thing. But I'm not going to tear up anything else. How about that? We're going to pull this out. And we're going to cut up the tallow in smaller pieces and go from there because this is ridiculous. Oh my God. Yeah. The smaller the better, but right now we have to pivot. So, pivoting. Ooh. We're going to use scissors and cut. No, it's not perfect, but it is better than not being done. This is how we're doing it. You can do that or shears. I think it dulled the shears out too. It might dull the scissors out, but we're doing this. This is quicker and faster than sitting there chopping it. And I have sharp knives, but we're getting it done. We are more than halfway done. We have this piece left. This is my hand, so it's still a pretty big piece, and one more bag left, and we're about full here. I'm not sure if I am going to basically process most of it, like to get it to cook down maybe in a pressure cooker. This is a pressure cooker option also, so I might pressure cook it for like 10 minutes so it can cook down and then add the rest, or I might transfer it to a bigger pot, but I don't want it to cook overnight on the stove. So I don't know. I think I'm going to process this, push it down, and then put the rest in because I do not want to be processing 2 batches of tallow. That'll take me like 2 weeks. But we're going to do this. We're almost done. Beautiful. Not perfect, but you can get pieces about this size because we don't need perfect. We just need it to cook down, and this size is going to allow it to cook down faster than putting the whole chunk in there. Okay, we are all done with cutting the tallow. It is full. I am going to press that down. I think I can make it fit. It is full. This is 4 bags. Okay, and this is, oh, it fit, yay. And then we're gonna turn this on. We're gonna do slow cook. Slow cook on low. And we're gonna start out with, let's say 12 hours. That's gonna give me to overnight. And that should cook it down pretty well. But this is gonna slow cook like that. And we will check on it. I would say before I go to bed. Right now, this 8:30. So we'll check on it at some point before I go to bed. We may not see much progress, but in the morning. So it is now like 13 hours later. There wasn't much of a difference before I went to bed last night. But do we see that? That is very, very good. I don't really care for the smell. If you hear baby in the back, don't mind. But you see the fat has rendered down some. Let me bring you in. Well, I rendered down quite a bit. but you see the fat pieces. So it rendered down a lot. I have a dentist appointment, so I'm going to leave this for a little while longer. Actually, I'm not. I am going to strain this and then put it in the refrigerator to cool and allow this tallow to go some more, because I believe you can get some more, liquid. So if you never made tallow before, you may not be familiar with the smell, but there is a certain smell of this tallow, and I won't say it stinks. It's just, I don't know how to explain. I don't know how to explain it. Oh, so some of the tallow is splashing. It looks like I need probably a bigger bowl, maybe. Not sure, but it's splashing because it's sitting so low. But I'm doing it over the sink. Oh, yeah. Oh, this smell is not a stink, and then this like jello-y texture. Ugh, my God. But it's okay. It is okay. We're going to put this in here. Sorry. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. That the smell of when it moves fast. Oh my gosh. I don't know. And I feel like my stomach is still a little weak from pregnancy. Uh-oh. 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 There we go. And that fat we can leave. Yeah, we got tallow right here, but we're going to rinse that out. Just going to shake it. I'm going to return it back to the crock pot to let it cook down some more, because clearly there's still a lot of fat that could be rendered out of this. Normally when the fat is all done, especially if you're using it, if you're doing it like lard, the fat will be kind of like crispy, like crackling. If you ever had crackling before, like pork rinds, pork skins, that's kind of how it will be. So I'm definitely going to render it again, because that's a lot of good fat. So we're going to have a couple batches in this sense. Oh, there we go. That's the piece I was looking for. The piece. Even though there was a piece of fat that fell in, even if I don't get it when we go to cool this, it'll come out. Like, that's no problem. It'll come to the top or the bottom with the rest of the other little fat particles. But here it goes. And I'm going to put water in this again, in the tallow. Just like that. Water. I'm going to put that there. I'm going to put salt. Uh-oh. Some salt to pull out more impurities. It is not necessarily salting the tallow, but we're going to take this and put it back and let it cook down. When I did lard, I had to cook it down a few times, but the little pieces will get crispier. And I'm going to set this on 12 hours. And this bowl, you can put in a fridge or freezer to cool it. I am going to probably put it in, I'm going to probably put it in the freezer, my deep freezer, so I can get cool and the smell won't bother me as much, because it being open in my refrigerator is probably going to send me. But yeah, let me rinse this out and I'll be back. All right, so we are back. We have the tallow that have solidified. You see that? It does finish in white, but when you take it out, watch this. You see that at the bottom? Uh-oh. You see that at the bottom? That's the part that we wanted to basically get rid of, because that's the impurities. You see how white it then turned? You can use this at this point, but we're going to take this gelatinous. That's the water. Remember the water? Take that layer off like that. I'm going to take the layer off. But those are the impurities. You can use it at this point, right? You can skim this off at the bottom and use it at this point. But I want to, it still smells like tallow, right? It still smells beefy, for lack of better terms. But the more you process it, the more purified it will get. So I am going to put it back in the crock pot and slow cook it again. But this is the impurities. You can scrape off. It broke. But look at that. This is a block of tallow. You see that? Those are the impurities. I'm going to try to scrape some off. But you see it? Once, let's see. Yep, shave that right off. Shave it. I'm shaving it. And you can, I feel like leaving that is what causes, not I feel, I know. Leaving that causes it to age quicker. And also it leaves that taste. This is the difference. Let me show you. I shaved off as much as possible. This is the one I didn't shave. This is the one I shaved. I'm going to just put that back in the crock pot. And I am going to shave all of them at the bottom. Put it back in there with some water and salt to pull out more impurities. Those little pieces that you see at the bottom are going to be at the bottom of the next batch. So we're going to get it eventually, right? We're going to get it. Put that in there and put some water, salt, run it. It doesn't need to be ran like 12 hours again. We just need to run it until it melts. So once it melts, we can put it back in a bowl, allow it to cool, and do this process. We can do this process a few times until I want the tallow to be white. It still has a yellow tint on it. Yeah, it still has a yellow tint on it, but I want it to be really, really white. And in order to get that, this is the other bowl of the, remember I said I was going to run the tallow again. Look at that. You can use that. That's water. It's flavored. You can use that. But remember I ran the tallow again. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I ran the tallow again to get like another batch of fat after that first one. While that first batch cooled, that's what this one's from. This is that second batch. And then you can see it has way more like impurities to it. But that's okay because we're shaving it, so it doesn't really matter. And getting rid of it. But if I would have threw that tallow away after that first batch, we wouldn't have this right here. You know, it may not be worth it to some, but for me, it's worth it. If you go look at the price of tallow, it is pricey. Like organic grass-fed tallow, it's pricey. So this is that second one. And we're doing the same thing. Shaving has more impurities. Let's shave. Here we go. Okay, put that back in there. This is the bowl of impurities. So you can use this tallow. You can like fry stuff in, but it's going to be very like beefy, very beefy. I'm not going to reuse it, to be honest. I'm not going to use it. I'm doing this to get this tallow. Well, let's run this again. All right, so tallow in there. Here's the water we're adding. That's the water, and we're going to add salt again to purify. You know, the salt will get pulled out in the bottom. Like, don't worry about it. It's still yellow. But this, at this point, can be used for cooking, but it's going to be beefy. If you are trying to make skincare products, you do not want this. You want to, you know, run it some more. You want to do it at least another 2 times. I'm going to probably do it 2 more times so that my tallow can be universal. I can use it for cooking or skincare. But we're going to run this and we'll see what this does in a few hours. All right, so we are back with the tallow. It has melted completely. And what we're going to do is strain it again. This may be a little difficult because it's a fine mesh strainer. You don't have to do this. I don't think I'm going to do it, actually. You can do it with a cheesecloth, but I don't really see, well, I see a little bit. Babe, can you come here? Can you hold that strainer while I pour the tallow? You can pull it closer. Pull it closer. Oh, wait. My finger. Okay, pull it closer. Or should I let you pour?
I just feel my hand getting burnt.
It's not hot like that. But, yeah. It's okay. Just come on. If I gotta cut it, it's fine. This is gonna catch any little bit of. Good. You gave her a pacifier? Okay, that's fine. A quick pour. This was actually on for about 3.5 hours, but we're gonna just strain it. Go ahead. To get any small particles that may be there. I doubt if there's much. You don't have to do this because it'll come out when it solidifies. That's the water. Yep. And you can see the particles that was taken out. Not too many, but we're going to let this solidify again, right? Let it solidify, come. It's going to strain, and we're going to keep doing this process again and again. But this is the second time. We're back at it with the tallow. This has solidified. Don't mind that little dent. I was testing to see if it has solidified. And we're going to process it again. It's getting a little less beefy smell. That didn't make sense. It's smelling a little better. Let me just say that. It doesn't smell as beefy. But we're going to process it again because we want to get it as pure as possible. I'm going to just cut through it like that because it's hard to get out. If you have like silicone bowls, this may work better just because you can peel it right out. But this is, yeah, see, it's moving, and I want to flip it because there's water at the bottom. Remember, the water that takes out the impurities. Uh-oh. I'm slinging tallow, y'all. Slinging tallow. Let's see. Cut it this way. I'm gonna have to cut. I was gonna have to cut it anyways because it's not gonna fit in the crock pot. Well, I don't think it's gonna fit in a crock pot like that. Be careful. Y'all don't say nothing about how I'm using a knife either. But let's break this up and then I'll be back. Okay, so I finally got it out. You can see the water is at the bottom, and you see this, the bottom, it has less impurities. So every time we go ahead and do this, it's going to be more white than the time before. I'm going to drop that in. That's some impurities right there. We're going to go ahead and just peel that off, put that to the side. Put that to the side. Here's another chunk. Boom, 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 right there. And then this last piece, we got a whole chunk. Oh, there go the impurities. But it's not as much as the first time. It still smells beefy, just not as much. We're gonna put that in there. I am taking this. I want this. Some of these are impurity pieces. But remember, I want all my tallow that I can get. Tallow is not cheap. So, and I'm going to do the water again and salt. You can see the water at the bottom is not as gelatinous as the last one, obviously because it has been strained and everything. But we are doing this again. Water, salt. We're going to melt it, strain it, and do it again. We're back at it. It's solidified. This is the third time we're going to be putting it in the crock pot. Again, trying to get it out. I don't have an easier way. This is the way I'm doing it. But you see it's whiter than it was before. Again, the water is clearer. Not much of impurities, that right there. But other than that, that looks good to remelt and purify again. Let's see. This side doesn't have anything. Put that back. Oh, there's some right there, a little bit. It smells less beefy. I still smell it a tad bit. I don't know. Maybe this is the third time running it, purifying it per se. We melted it the first time, and then this is the third purification round. See, the water is clear. And I don't know if we will completely get rid of the beefy smell. See, the water is clear. I don't know if we'll completely get rid of it, just because from my understanding, there's certain parts of the tallow or certain parts that they can save the tallow from that I guess is more pure than the other parts. But I'm trying to get it as pure as possible. So I'm going to run it probably, I would say probably 2 more times. This time and probably another time after this. I'm not sure, but we're going to salt again. We are going to, let me grab the salt. This is a whole process. My wife walked by and said, this is a whole, this seems like a lot of work. Oh, it is. It is. So we're going to salt. We're going to get salt. The salt does not stick to it. It just pulls out any impurities. It ends up being in the bottom in the water and not in the actual tallow. So don't worry about it. Don't think, oh, it's going to be salty water. It's not. We're going to take this And we are going to put more water. And it melted pretty quick. So hopefully I can do it today twice. I'm about to put it on now. Yeah, it'll probably be fully melted in an hour. It's just the cooling process that takes a little minute. But it's 3 o'clock, so I don't know. But if not, I'll do it again tomorrow. But we are going to melt it again on low. It's going to take about an hour or two. Strain it, repeat. Okay. So I'm going to do it another time maybe, but we shall see. All right. So we are back. The last time you saw it, I was rendering down and I ended up, I think, rendering one more time. But this last render that I just did right here is a dry render. So no water or soap. No water or salt is added. That is to basically get rid of any extra water or anything that's in here. So I didn't add any water. I just melted it so that I can bottle it up. I have here a cheesecloth with a funnel, and I have pint jars. These are wide mouth pint jars. This is what I put my lard in, and I feel like it works well because the mouth is so wide. I'm able to just kind of stick a spoon in it or anything like that. I'm able to stick a spoon. Don't mind my phone. I'm trying to record this too. But I'm able to stick a spoon in it and get it when I need it versus like trying to fight with the kind of regular mouth jars. So wide mouth pint jars. And I feel like quart jars will be a little too big. Even though you can, if that's all you have, use with what you got. Use what you have. But because I have one here that I will use for excess, but I wanted in small batches, okay? And I don't feel like I'll use that much tallow at a time, even though I want to fry, like fry some French fries and stuff in it. But if it doesn't fit in these wide mouth, I'll add it to the quart wide mouth. But I am just straining through the cheesecloth. You do not have to worry about canning any of this. You don't have to worry about canning it because it's shelf stable. The fat is shelf stable. It is shelf stable, so it'll be fine. You can put these in a jar and leave them on the shelf for up to like a year. That is debatable, right? Because people have different time frames on when you have to use animal fats. But you could store it in a refrigerator also. What I do with my lard is what I'll do with the tallow. I'm putting it in these jars, and I'm going to put them in my deep freezer, and I'll take them out as I need them. So I have a jar of lard in my refrigerator right now. I will, that's a little too much. Once that is low, right, I'll take out the lard out my deep freezer, another jar, and go from there. That is a jar of lard, like lasts me a few months, but I keep it in my deep freezer so that there's no problems with shelf life. I don't know if I would use all of the tallow and lard within 1 year, so I just keep it in a deep freezer and take it out as I need it. So that's what I'll be doing here. And the heat from the tallow will seal the jars. Yep, I got 5 pint jars. It's starting to get a little messy, but this will seal when I put the lids on it. I'm going to use vinegar and everything to wipe the lids, kind of like when I'm canning, to get rid of any grease. But yeah, it's been a project. It has definitely been a project. But if you go take a look at the cost of tallow, you will understand that, hey, I'm good with doing this. Fun fact, if you didn't know, McDonald's used to fry their French fries in tallow. So the flavorful fries that they became so famously known for was fried in tallow. That's where the flavor came from. I am doing this large jar because I feel like this is might be what I'll use for frying. Also, you can freeze any jars. What I have learned though is jars that are not wide mouth, like these rather, they tend to crack when they get frozen. Oh, is that gonna spill? Nope. I have to figure. I have a little bit left in here. I'll figure out what I'll do with that. That's probably what I'll put in my refrigerator. What's in this actual pot? So I'll bring you closer. I'm gonna get white vinegar. Oh, excuse that. I'm gonna get white vinegar, and we're gonna wipe the top of the jars. But yeah, I am going to wipe these. Uh-oh, look what happened. End up getting some tallow on the napkin. But it's okay. Just fold it, dip. Come off like that. And when we put these on, do them tight. Not tight where it would break the jar, but tight like you want to seal it. Am I missing a lid? I am missing a lid. Come on. But I'm gonna go get a lid. Babe, can you go get me a wide mouth lid from downstairs? You can get the one that's in the box. Not the ball box, but there's a box with jars with lids on it. Get a lid off of one of those. But this is gonna seal. The heat is gonna act like a vacuum, and this thing right here is gonna pop and it's gonna seal. And we will have tallow, shelf stable tallow. I think a 32 ounce of tallow go for like $20-$30, and it's grass fed, local. This one that I'm referring to. But just wiping the jars off. I am gonna write on the top, because when they're frozen, even though my lard says lard, I'm not 100% sure if I'm gonna notice the difference, or know the difference of them, rather. So what we're gonna do is write on the top of the lid and put tallow. You can see that this one already started to seal. The dent. Let's see. Can you see the dent right there? That already started to seal. This one didn't. You hear that? But yeah, already started to seal. Tallow. Thank you. And what is the day's date? Okay, 6/27/25. So hopefully you learned something here. I know it's a process, but I'm sure it'll be so worth it, because this is going to last me probably, I know for a fact, at least a year. It might last me 2 years, but this is going to last me some time. So I don't have to do this process very often. Yeah, so hopefully you learn something. And I'm just going to leave these out on the counter. They're going to turn white. I'll be sure to show you. They're going to turn white. And I'm going to let them cool, sit these on the counter for like 48 hours or so, let them cool completely, and then add them to the deep freezer. But I'll show y'all once they're done cooling. But hopefully y'all learned something.